Hey, welcome to episode 2 of season 2. Bestie Claire is back. Yeah. You met her in season 1. She's a former English lit teacher, and now she teaches Kundalini yoga. She is an ecstatic dance enthusiast and a creative catalyst. And she just returned from Costa Rica, where she was co hosting a Creative Cauldron retreat. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Kimay.
How are you, honey?
I'm doing great. I'm definitely still recovering from 2 weeks in Costa Rica, which was amazing. But yeah, I'm really excited to be
Nice.
back. Season 2. Woo!
Hey. So I think we're going to make this a theme. We're going to pause for Petey. I think we're going to make this a theme. Okay, so the amount of technical issues we had before we even started this recording, y'all, like you just need to know we might just have to let Petey bark through this episode. Now that Petey seems to be somewhat settled, I would love for you to just tell me what a creative cauldron is. I know I see it a lot. You offer it as like hour-long classes and workshops, and now this was the first time you used it in branding a retreat. So, what is Creative Cauldron?
Yeah, so it's definitely developed a lot over the past several years, but at its base level, it's a combination of breath work, movement in the body, dance, creative writing, specifically like introspective journaling, and really any other creative process that wants to come through. Like sometimes people draw, sometimes they paint. It has really just kind of organically developed. But yeah, I started doing this with individual clients. I was a writing coach and an editor, and I realized that there were all these blockages specifically for women in terms of what they thought they were capable of when it came to actually writing or publishing a book. So the Creative Cauldron came through as this way. It was almost a ritual that we would hold before the writing process even began, to really work with the inner critic, those limiting thoughts and beliefs that want to keep us small, and really helping people tap into that creative life force energy that flows through all of us, to help get them on their writing path. So it started as individual sessions, and then it grew to small group offerings, which has been so fun. And then yeah, finally this like beautiful fulfillment of a really long time dream of holding the retreat space. So we built it out over 7 days, which was just so much fun.
So, when it comes to the retreat, with this being your first one, because I know you've done like hour long or half day, or, Creative Cauldron is like a seminar multiple times, but this was your first like travel retreat. So, maybe just tell me like 2 or 3 of your favorite takeaways from the retreat.
Mm, that's a great question. So first of all, just the group of women that we had was a beautiful combo, and it was really intergenerational too. We had a 19-year-old young woman all the way up to, there were 40s, 50s, 60s women in their 40s, 50s, 60s. And it was a small intimate group. So really getting to see the transformation and the shifts that were happening. And that's kind of my whole approach, is helping folks tap into their creativity, not as like a separate thing that they're doing. Like I'm all for that, but it's not just about like, oh, I set aside time on Saturday to like do my writing. I'm all for that, but it's more about cultivating a creative life, because when we tap into that life force energy, it impacts our life in all kinds of different ways. It impacts our relationships, it impacts our compassion, our zest for life, our ability to actually like face challenges with a creative mindset that helps us think outside the box. We don't spiral in that negativity. So it really is like an all-encompassing thing. And so just to watch these women work with their inner critic and shift things that were keeping them and preventing them from really stepping into their fullest creative expression of who they are was probably the greatest gift. I mean, that's the beauty of you're guiding people and you're teaching, but really, like, I received so much just from watching these women's process and their vulnerability, and it's amazing.
So the end product is geared towards writing, correct?
Sorry, say that again.
So the end product is geared towards having a piece of writing at the end of all of this, correct?
Yeah, it's funny. We set that as kind of our intention, but by the end of the retreat, it was so secondary to just like the personal inner transformation that was happening that just naturally occurs when we allow that creative energy to flow through us. It naturally just like removes blockages and really parts of us that aren't working for us. And it brings our awareness to those parts that are keeping us trapped in negativity or keeping us trapped in um, just viewing ourselves in a really limited way. So, yes, everyone ended up with a really beautiful piece of creative writing that we kind of worked on throughout the week. Some were poetry, some was fiction, some nonfiction. But yeah, in the end, I was like, I'm glad that this was a byproduct of that, but it wasn't really what the retreat was about at all, which is so funny because I was like, oh, we really want to give them like a finished product, like we really want to give them the value of having a finished product. And then it was just the lesson of like, it's not about the finished product, it's about the whole process and then like the skills and the tools that they're going to take home with them to keep cultivating that creative life. So that was an interesting insight.
Okay, well, that's interesting that you say that though, because correct me if I'm wrong, but you started thinking about offering these creative cauldrons, and it sort of was born out of the work that you started out doing with me so many years ago when I was gonna write a book.
Yes.
And you talk about there being an end product, and like, I still have not written that book.
Oh, it's gonna happen. Don't you worry.
It's gonna happen. But you did, sort of create so many systems for me and put so many tools in place for me that did knock down a lot of those blockages, not in a way that they don't still live inside me, but I feel like I have tools now when the insecurity creeps up or when the negative voice is sort of creating a writer's block or getting me out of my creative flow, that I'm like, well, what would Claire tell me to do? Or maybe I just need to, move on to some other creative project, like rearranging a room or hanging pictures on my wall. And that's going to like break down that barrier and allow me to get back to the writing.
Yeah,
So
I love
anyway,
that.
will you talk a little bit about like when you first started working with me and what sort of led you to want to do this more?
Well, that's the beauty of our friendship, first of all, and just you inviting me into your creative process. So thank you for that, because not only was it just so much fun to do with you, but it helped me start developing the skills I needed to help other people doing the same thing that you're doing. And so much of what you brought up in our conversation is just a universal issue for creators across the board. It's like, I don't have the time to sit down and write. I want to make a regular writing practice, right? But I'm struggling with the accountability for that. Or sometimes I feel super inspired, other times I don't, and I just love watching because your creative inspiration is so potent and powerful. It's like, you won't write for weeks, months, and then inspiration will strike and it just like flows through you onto the page. And I just love that. I love watching that and, watching you light up when your creative inspiration is flowing.
I think I used to say all the time that it falls out of me.
Yeah.
But this most recent creative breakthrough that I had, like literally a few days ago, this is going to sound negative, but it was like so strong. It was like it projectile vomited out of me. Like,
Yeah.
It was like brewing and brewing and brewing in my mind, like while I was actually having to physically do my job. So I couldn't sit down and write. So by the time I did, I sat down at like 2:09, wrote it all, and was like in the pickup line to get my son by 3, and had like, I mean, it's meant to be heard. So it's like when I was writing it, I knew it was supposed to be received by being heard. But it's like I read it to record it last night, and it's like 4.5 minutes long. So it was like 18, 22 minutes. And and I've revisited it and like tweaked it a little bit, but the general structure of it is the same. The message has not changed. It's just like little removal of words and shifts, that happen in editing. So yeah, that's definitely my process. Like,
I just love it because and most of us know that creative flow feeling, like there's no high like it,
oh
really.
my gosh.
Yeah, and then afterwards, you shared it with me and your husband, Daniel, and we were just in awe and cracking up that like, "Oh, you just took 20 minutes to write that? Like, must be nice," you know? I, like, slave over every word over here. But that's the difference too. That's why I called it Creative Cauldron, because it's really about creativity in and through the body, building the cauldron or the vessel to allow that creativity to flow. And there's a difference between showing up and cultivating your creative life on a daily basis as like a regular practice. And then there's those moments where you're just a channel and you are like so almost out of control of what it's like. It's going to be birthed through you, whether you want it to or not, you know?
Correct. Correct. And that's the sort of inspiration it takes for me to sit down and do it. Like
Yeah.
it has to like take over me to where I'm not going to be okay until I get it out. Like nothing, like I'm such a resistant writer
Hmm.
that my body, it's sort of like when you're like going too hard and you get sick and your body tells you like I'm going to force you to stop. Like my body forces me to write.
I love that because creativity is physical. It is an energy that is literally moving in and through the body. And so often we think it's a mental thing, which the mental piece is really important. But yeah, using the breath, using movement, it's all part of that process too. So,
Well, and I think I'm realizing right now in real time that the way I approach problem solving, like I've visualized the end product and what I want to achieve or what I want to see happen, and then work backwards from there. Specifically with this piece of writing, which I'm not going to be a gatekeeper. I'm doing something with it. I'm going to put the writing up. It's a whole thing. So I will share it with everyone when it's ready. But I could see so clearly that it needed to be heard. It needed these visual elements to go with it. Like I saw the entire end product and then I was ready to write it.
mm, is that normally how it is for you? Like you can visualize where you're going and then you kind of work backwards?
Well, I mean, I do it when it comes to my creative process. I think this is the first time I'm recognizing that crossover.
Yeah.
So maybe I need to do more visualization of what it looks like when I have a completed book.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I love that concept, but then we also want to keep plenty of room and space for it to grow and shift and change because that's what art does, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
there's got to be the balance.
Okay, well, I'm sure there's going to be future Creative Cauldron opportunities here in St.
Yeah.
Louis or maybe online for anybody who would like to work with Claire or connect with Claire. And I'll talk about more of that at the end. But now I want to get back to some more like personal life stuff, if
Let's
that's
do
okay.
it. Yeah.
So when you were on the first episode, I think it was like the end of summer that we recorded, and we were sort of like talking about how you had been like going through some shifts and some changes and things were, you had relocated temporarily. And then now here we are, what, 5 months out from that move. And I'm just wondering if you would be willing to open up a little more about that life change.
Yeah. Gosh, that feels so long ago and also like not that long at all. I was still too close to it to really talk specifically about it, but I'm in a different place now. So in June, separated from my husband of 11 years. And I came to St. Louis. I mean, Kim, you were one of the key factors in getting me back to St. Louis because you were like, my mom's gone for the summer. Come stay in her house. You can take care of her property. And it was just like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, I can do this. I have a place to go. And so I came here temporarily, and then, Spirit just kept opening doors and just kept making connections with amazing people that invited me into different opportunities in the yoga world, and getting to work with um, people in the way that I really felt led to work with them, also like through the creative cauldron and other modalities like that. So there was this knowing in my body that was just like, I'm going to stick around in St. Louis for a while, which is so funny because I mean, if you would have asked me, 6 months ago, if that was even a possibility, I would have said absolutely not. I love St. Louis, but I left in 2018, and just, yeah, never saw myself coming back here, but it feels really good. It feels really right. Everything feels really aligned right now. So it's been a whole process. I turned 40 in January, and yeah,
Well, we all know I'm happy about you
thank you.
putting roots down in St. Louis again. It is interesting because, I mean, how long were you in North Carolina?
6 years.
And I can remember every time you would come back, then you were building community, building networks. There were a lot of creative things that did feel blocked and stunted for you there. And I know that you struggled, like you were just trying to hit it from different angles and use your processes and work with different people and collaborate in different ways to try and get a lot of the creative things that you wanted to do off the ground, that since you've been in St. Louis have literally like exploded, like putting gasoline on them. But there were a lot of relationships and things that you were building there that when you would come back to visit, you would be like, oh yeah, I mean, it's great to visit. And of course I love everybody here and it's good to see everybody here, but I'm happy to go back. Like I'm really establishing a lot of things that feel like home there.
Mm-hmm.
And you were very close with me when I went through my divorce, and someone else gave me this piece of wisdom, and it was very helpful, that the people that you think will be able to show up for you might not be able to show up for you. And it's up to you whether you find peace around that and lack of judgment, and or you can build resentment and be angry at them for not being able to be there for you. But the other side of that is that people will come out of the woodwork
Mm-hmm.
that you never in a million years, maybe people that you'd known your entire life but reconnected with, or new people that you meet, that support will come, but it just might not come in the vessel that you picture it coming in.
Oh, ain't that the truth?
So
Yeah.
that's something we've talked about. And I think I passed that piece of advice on to you too. And it very much proved itself to be true for you too.
Yes, and I do love North Carolina so much. I love so much about the state and the people there. Um, but yeah, you're so right. I mean, and I think that's probably true for people going through any kind of huge life situation, whether you have like a massive health diagnosis or something like that. People truly just don't know how to respond. And I was shocked by some of the responses of my family, my extended family, people I thought were ride or die friends, who they just simply didn't have the skills, or they honestly like emotional or spiritual maturity to know how to support someone in my situation. And that's a that was a loss. Like, you have to grieve that, and you're right, coming at it with like no judgment, allowing people to be in exactly the same place that they are. Also allowing people to have their own grieving process over my divorce was a whole
That is interesting.
right.
I remember that. It's been a lot longer for me, but I remember that.
Yeah.
And, similarly to you, we didn't have children. We didn't, and you always think like, okay, well, at least there's no kids involved,
Right.
which is a good thing. And also, sometimes when kids are involved, it's a good thing to get divorced. But I digress. But there are so many people attached to that version of you
Yes.
as that person's husband or wife, or that version of the friendship that they'd always had. And it can be frustrating. And yes, you want to be non-judgmental and you want to operate from a place of like whatever is going to keep you the most healed and not
Right.
hurt, but it does hurt. It
Yeah.
does. And like sitting in that hurt and like feeling, I mean, for one thing, you're mourning the loss of a relationship. So you're not in your most happy-go-lucky state.
Right.
And then you feel like people are making it more about them than it is about you.
Yeah.
And that's not even necessarily what they're doing. It's just that you sort of come to a realization that even though it is more about you and it's about them,
Yeah.
you
Well,
know?
and also I'm always thinking like that's not what I would do in this situation. And the reality is like not everyone is me. And that's good. That's a good thing, and I just I've had to allow myself to mourn those losses, but also like I'm a Capricorn. It's pretty easy for me to be like, yeah, this relationship is kind of dead to me. Bye. Yeah, and that's really been, I think turning 40 has also been that way. It's just like I don't have time or energy or interest in pursuing relationships that can't show up for me during the hardest year of my life.
And let me tell you, I'm also in my 40s and I'm a Cancer. So it sure as hell is easy for me to say that person that hurt my friend Claire, they're fucking dead to me.
And that's why I love you so much. Just one of the many, many reasons. But also, adversely, the people who have showed up for me, I don't know if there's been a whole lot of surprise, but it's been an overwhelming influx of love and support and just one of the greatest gifts in walking through this really intense challenge and honestly huge transformation for me. And friends like you, Kimmy, that can consistently show up and walk alongside me, there's that is life's greatest gift. To love and be loved in return. I mean, to quote Moulin Rouge. Ugh.
But also, let's just circle back too, because not to get too specific, but there were some very sort of witchy alignment things that happened when you were going through that process of deciding to leave. You had felt like you had this, noose around your neck with your creative process for so long, and you had exhausted every angle and sort of stepped towards and away from should I leave, should I not? If I do, what does that look like? And you called me and said, I picked a date. I'm going to do it on June 8th. And I said, I just talked to my mom last week. She's leaving for the summer on June 8th.
Yeah.
Like her house was going to be empty for 3 months starting on June 8th. And through the course of events in life, I don't think it ended up being exactly that date, but the fact that it just was like a portal opened. And then from the moment you got here, everything just kept flowing through that portal when it came to your yoga, your writing and editing, your collaborations with so many different really cool happenings here in St. Louis, and all the things that you had been trying. I mean, you like had like your first event and there was like 30 people at it or something. And you had been like doing these events in North Carolina and getting like 3 people and then
Right.
5 people and then 1 person. And then it was like your first event and there was like 30 plus people there.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
okay, maybe I needed, like, you were trying to like get this professional security so that you could leave, and that realizing that until you left, the
yes.
pathways weren't going to be open to get that professional security.
Yes. Yes. And in terms of like professional security, just to clarify, I just kept thinking, I have to have a job. I have to have a job before I leave. You know, obviously, I can't leave without a job. And to speak to the power of choosing what we know to be true for ourselves, regardless of the logic of it, right? Like in my heart, in my body, I knew for quite a while that this marriage was no longer right for me. And I spent so much of my energy, of my generative, creative energy in that in between of like, do I go? Do I stay? I knew that when I walked away, I wanted to say I had done everything I knew possible to make this work. And I hit that point to where I could look back and say, yeah, I did it. I did it all.
Mhm.
And it didn't change. So, exactly what you just said, Kim, that portal of opening those magical synchronicities, that was just one, that was like the very beginning of it. When I made the choice and it was like, I am leaving, making that choice that was most in alignment for me, regardless of my brain being like, you know, I just hear my dad's voice, like, well, how are you going to support yourself? Where are you going to live? You know, I had none of that figured out. The universe responded with open door after open door after open door in a way I couldn't have written it myself. I couldn't have imagined it myself. So there's something to be said for the magic of the trust falling through the universe. The only thing that you know is that you are choosing what your inner guidance is telling you to do.
Your
That's it.
intuition.
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. And letting God, and I know that word can be triggering. By God, I just mean whatever force you believe we're co-creating this life with, work it out. And that's exactly what has happened. It's been so affirming, and it's through the power of my amazing community of incredible people that I couldn't have done any of this without. So, yeah. Wow.
Well, yay.
And it's just going to keep, and you know what? When I have those moments of doubt, when I'm like, ooh, I think I'm supposed to go this way, but I don't really know. It's like God just brings that back. And it's like, haven't you always been taken care of? Yes.
Mhm.
Has the path not always rolled out in front of you? Yes. Even when I'm terrified, even when I can't see where I'm going, I'm not going to cry. It's just such a gift. And that is creativity. Every choice is a creative choice as we build our life. It's so beautiful.
You're beautiful.
You're beautiful, and so is your mom.
Okay, so let's pivot. Let's talk about what books we're reading or
Oh,
have read recently.
yeah.
Do you want me to start? I'll start.
Okay, yeah, you go.
I'll start. So I kicked off the year, and I do not recommend it. I do recommend the book. I don't recommend kicking off the year with it. Well, I don't read, y'all. I listen. So just know if I say I read, I'm talking about I listened to it while I drove around in my car and took showers.
You read with your ears.
I read with my ears. When I read books, I fall asleep. I listen to Nobody's Girl, Virginia Roberts Guthrie. And if you are unfamiliar with who she was one of Jeffrey Epstein's victims and probably should have gone with something a little lighter to ring in the new year. I have spent the better part of the last decade in denial and ignoring everything with that name attached to it. And the floodgates opened right up. And it's pretty harrowing. That's the understatement of the century. It's such a, I mean, if you just take the larger picture of Epstein out of it, just the predictability of what happens to women when they are wronged from a very young age.
Mm-hmm. By a powerful man in control.
Well, I mean, when she was young, it was, I mean, it was way predated Epstein. The cycle of abuse started at a very, very young age. And I mean, and now, she's not with us anymore. And I mean, it really is a beautiful story of trying to reclaim herself and her fight to take such horrific things and try and create something good out of it. So we'll say it's good for that, but it was like big. It was a lot.
What drew you to that? Why did you finally decide to go down?
My sister Ruthie read it and told me I should.
Okay.
So you go.
Well, it's funny. I was gifted this fiction book by one of the studio owners where I teach, and it was called Diana Herself, and it was really this allegory of this woman's kind of journey into reclaiming her personal power and her intuition and all of that. And I was reading through it and I loved it. I was really enjoying it. It was kind of mystical and magical. And at the same time, I'm reading this book called Beyond Anxiety by Martha Beck.
Oh yeah, y'all. Claire's one of those smart people that reads like 8 books all at one time.
Well, I have to have nonfiction to start my day off, and then I have to end the day with fiction. But then I look at Diana Herself, and it's also by Martha Beck. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, wow.
2 books by Martha Beck right now. But she is a psychotherapist. She's out of Harvard, I believe. She's a very smart woman. And Beyond Anxiety is a really, it's powerful, but it's also, she writes in a way that makes it super applicable to the average person. It's not like above our heads or anything like that. But she talks a lot about the way the brain functions and how the majority of society is set up to support left brain functioning, which if you don't know, like left brain is our more masculine brain, and it's where we do our logical thinking, our tasks, our this is where the 9 to 5 kicks in, right? And then our right brain is our more creative side and much more the feminine, free flowing. But anxiety lives in the left brain, and we spend so much of our lives filtering through that lens. And so she really pitches creativity as the cure-all for anxiety. And she uses her story. She had crippling anxiety. So it's just a really powerful story that she weaves in with like science and different studies and everything. And then she actually has like practical practices that you can use to spark your own creativity. And also work similar to what I do with Creative Cauldron, like working with that inner critic,
Well, yeah, isn't that just another name for anxiety? Like your inner critic is a symptom of your anxiety.
Yeah.
Negative self-talk, that's born from anxiety.
Yes. And she helps you kind of separate your anxiety from yourself so that you kind of become the observer of it versus like my anxiety is who I am, or like whatever. So you're observing your thoughts and you're loving those thoughts and you're calming the amygdala in the brain, which is what's freaking the fuck out. And she gives you all these tools for self-soothing and to really kind of overcome a life that's really stunted by anxious thoughts. So it's beautiful, and it's going to work perfectly with everything that I do. So I'm really grateful for my friend Kat who recommended it, and also for highly recommend Diana Herself. It draws on the myth of the goddess Diana, the huntress. She's got her bow and arrow. She's badass.
So it's Diana herself, and then what was the other one called?
Beyond Anxiety.
Beyond Anxiety, and they're both by who?
Martha Beck. And I love the story, Martha Beck's personal story. She was married to a man, I believe, and then ended up falling in love with a woman. So she left her marriage, ended up marrying this woman, and then she was so deeply in love, and her wife ends up falling in love with another woman. And Martha's response was like, I love that the person I love most in the world is in love. And so they like invited this other woman into their marriage, and now they're in this like beautiful throuple. So
Good
go
for
Martha.
them.
I know. Go Martha.
Okay, and then most recently, let me see here. Oh, so I started listening to Wuthering Heights.
Yes.
The previews of the hottest movie of the century.
Jacob
Made me feel
Elordi.
like, okay, I've never read Wuthering Heights. I have read some of the classics, but I didn't ever read Wuthering Heights. And I'm probably like 20 minutes in. Let's see how far in I am. I've listened to like 18 minutes, and I'm like, I cannot follow this book.
I know. It's very confusing in the beginning. You just got to keep reading. I promise.
I know. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna keep pushing through. For one, it's free on my Audible right now, so that's nice. I'm not even having to use a credit for it, but
nice. No, it's one of my favorite books in the whole world. But first of all, it's layered, right? It's like a story within a story within a story, so that's why it's also confusing in the beginning. And everyone's names are the same, which is super annoying. But it's this like haunting obsession story. But it cracks me up that they're marketing this movie as the greatest love story ever told. Like, get the fuck out of here. All the characters are completely depraved. Like, you hate all of them. It is not the greatest love story.
This is like very in theme with the classics, though. Like,
totally.
And that this is the struggle for me when it comes to the classics, is that it's just like, we could have wrapped this up in chapter 1.5 if somebody would have just told somebody how the fuck they felt.
That's so true. But that's British lit, right? You can't be on the nose about it. You got to be mysterious.
Right.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's a good one, though. Highly recommend. Although, I was just telling you, I just went to the library, St. Louis libraries. There's not a single copy of Wuthering Heights in any St. Louis libraries right now because every single person has run out to read this classic.
Well, even if the movie's garbage, at least it got a bunch of people to read a classic that probably never would have. And the movie's not going to be garbage. What did I see about it? The writer / director, creator, or whatever. It's like she blended like her fantasy of putting herself into their stories when she read it. Because she's like obsessed with the book like you are, right?
Okay.
So she's like, it's like a weave of the actual story with my fantasy of being in the story.
Wow. Okay. Well, I know Margot Robbie is one of the producers. Is that, you're not talking about her?
No, it's not Margot Robbie.
Okay. I cannot wait. And it's coming out on Valentine's Day, right? So I'm just like, woo!
Anything else you want to recommend? Were those the two books that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, that's pretty much. I did just read a really funny graphic novel about a serial killer bear that, she lives in this cute little town, but there's another serial killer on the loose. And in order for her to not get caught, she has to hunt down the serial killer who's threatening her town. Pretty outrageous.
Would Goose like it?
I mean, it's pretty bloody. It's pretty violent. I don't know. I'll bring it over and see if he'd be into it.
Okay. He just is all about these graphic novels, but he reads them all in like 5 seconds. So I need him to get into something that like maybe is a little more in depth and takes him a little bit longer, so that I'm not constantly like, oh, we got to figure out another book.
I know. And they're all the same price as normal books too. And you're like, I just read that in 2 hours. Cool.
Right?
I do love a graphic novel though. All right, I'll bring it over.
You love all the books. What's that one you gave to Edna a while back? It was a graphic novel. It was so good. We read it together.
It was a graphic novel?
Yeah, it's like these weird creatures
I don't remember.
that are like on like an escape journey together. Wow. Okay, well I'll have to follow up with y'all because that's very little information, but I'll go find it.
Okay.
And I'll let everybody know about it. Okay, so I want you to tell everybody what you have going on in St. Louis, but first, I need you all to know that by the time you are listening to this episode, Claire and I will have flown to North Carolina on a morning, gotten in an Uber, gone to get a U-Haul, driven to one city in North Carolina, load up some shit, drive 2 hours to another city in North Carolina, load up a bunch of other shit. Next morning, bright and early, get on the road, drive said U-Haul, 13 hours back to St. Louis.
Woo!
And she will be officially relocated to the St. Louis area. She has an apartment.
Yes.
She will be rooted firmly in the ground for as long as I can keep her here, just around the corner for me.
And huge shout out to Bestie Kimmy, because through this strange happening of events, I was supposed to do all of this last weekend. There was a massive storm, had to cancel the whole move. And I had a dream. I was having literally a mental breakdown, just like, I just want to be in my apartment. I want this to be over. And I dreamt that Kim flew out with me to North Carolina and helped me with this move. I was literally going to do this thing alone. And I woke up and it was like, duh. So I asked her if she would do this with me. She said, of course. She moved around her work schedule like the amazing woman that she is. And
well, you've already had 2 like little mini moves.
yeah.
And the whole time you were doing the mini moves, I was at home being like, this is just fucking ridiculous that I'm not helping Claire with this right now.
Well, I didn't need that much help, which was just a few boxes, but
it's like all along, like a knowing of like, at some point, I'm going to need to like draw this carriage home with her.
yeah.
It's going to need to happen. And you're like, are you sure you're up for this? And I am like, I just think it's going to be a fucking blast. I'm like,
yeah.
What do you mean? We're having like a bestie comedy cross-country journey. Like, what about this isn't just going to be fucking fantastic? Like, if we're loading a U-Haul at 11 o'clock at night, I don't freaking care. Like, whatever. If we are going on no sleep, well, we know about going on no sleep, and I go on no sleep and take care of children and coach fitness classes, so I can certainly just like sit around and shoot the shit and laugh with you in a U-Haul. Anyway, it's going to be a blast. And we'll actually get here the night before this episode airs.
Yes. And I feel like we should keep folks updated, like maybe on social media or something.
Sure. So you should follow us on Kim and Friends podcast. We will just blow up the Instagram story with all of our shenanigans.
Yes. Yes. Get you a bestie like Kim Brown, folks.
But you're going to have to remind me that I'm supposed to be putting it on my Instagram story, because we'll get home and I'll be like, oh shit, I didn't look at my phone the whole time.
We didn't take one single picture or video.
There's very little photographic evidence of our friendship, which is interesting to me.
That is very true. That is very true.
Okay. So I want to finish with you telling the people that are local to St. Louis, or if you ever find yourself in St. Louis, or if you have online offerings, what is popping off for you? Where can they find you? Your creative cauldrons, your yoga classes, your sound journey collaborations, all the stuff you're doing. Lay it out for us.
Okay. Well, I teach Kundalini at 2 different studios here in St. Louis. So I teach on Sundays at 1:30 at Joy of Yoga on Manchester. And then I teach at 7:30 a.m. Thursday mornings at Blue Sky Yoga on Watson. And it's funny, I'm currently co-building 3 different brands. So it's been funny. It's really been a time of hibernation. December and January, everyone has just needed to kind of go inside to cocoon. So a lot of things have felt on pause, and we're just starting to feel that kind of like creative energy. We're waking up, kind of looking towards the spring here. So the first organization I'm part of is called Esoterra. It's an online holistic women's community where you pay a membership and then you get all of these offerings on our calendar throughout the month. And it's yoga, breath work, meditation, all kinds of healing modalities that you can't even imagine. It's this really cool explorative space where women get to kind of experiment with different offerings that they want to maybe put out into the world with their gifts and their skills. So through Esoterra, I'm teaching a course on the gene keys, which is this astrological system that really helps you understand kind of your life's work, your purpose, what you're here to learn, what you're here to do. So that's coming up in the spring. And I also offer the Creative Cauldron virtually, quarterly through Esoterra online. So that's nice because you can kind of do it from your living room if that feels better. And then I am hosting some song circles with my friend Kathleen at Joy of Yoga. That's, I believe, every second or third Tuesday. But all of this will be linked on my link tree if you want more info. And that's really fun because that's like, you know, I'm a Reformed church girl. My favorite part of church was worship. So we get together and excuse me, we just sing a bunch of songs together, and it just gets us so lifted and like combining the power of all of our voices. It's a really special time.
Yep. I thought I really loved Jesus, but it turns out I just really love live music.
That's right. That's right. We all love worship. So you don't have to have a quote unquote good voice to join us. It's just a blast. And then I have recently been building a yoga brand with a dear friend. It's called Yin Yang Yoga. And we're currently in the process of just figuring out where we're going to call home. We offer this really lovely blend of yin yoga plus kundalini. We co-teach the class together. We're working on our YouTube channel right now, so we're going to be putting out a bunch of free content for folks. And then lastly, I've been invited to build this lovely brand called Wake. And that's run by a woman, or founded by a woman named Lauren Davis. She has assembled this beautiful team of healers, practitioners, guides. And so that's going to be launching from her home in Imperial, Missouri this March. So it's going to be kind of a collective. Again, you pay a membership and you get all these offerings monthly. That's really been where I feel like wellness is moving towards, are these collectives, right? Of just like, come experience all these different types of modalities that will help you, you know, heal from trauma, come back to your most authentic self, really express yourself through your body, through your voice, through movement, through breath, all of these offerings in one place. And so I feel super, super lucky and blessed to be getting to do that with these amazing groups of people who are really marketing and drawing in like completely different like demographic of person. So
well, and Alana and Sarah from season 1 too, they're both collaborators under Lauren's Wake.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah.
So I know that is a whole lot. If you did not catch any of that and you want to make sure you're up on the happenings with Claire, you can follow her at
Claire Vessel on Instagram. It's ClaireVessoul.
And she is really good about posting when and where she's teaching and sharing, you know, like she said, people she's just collaborating with and the cool stuff they have going on as well. So make sure you follow her there and keep an eye on Kim and Friends podcast, because I am going to follow through this time and I will be posting our shenanigans in our little 2-day buddy comedy
road trip.
Woo! Yay. All right. Well, love you all. Thank you so much for listening. I'll be back next week with another mini-sode. It's going to be a good one. It's funny. Yeah. I'm funny, and it's funny. If you're still listening, then you think I'm funny. So what'd you say?
I said you're one of the funniest people I know.
I mean, you have to know that you're funny for other people to know that you're funny. All right. Well, we're going to get off here for now. Thank you so much. Have a good week.
Love you.